Imagine a beginning, a fresh start for everything. Here we meet Adam. He was the first man. Then came Eve, the first woman. They lived in a place of pure wonder. This place was called the Garden of Eden. It was a perfect home, lush and green. Life was simple. Life was good. They had everything they could possibly need. No worries, no sadness, just peace. A truly pristine existence. A universe in miniature. The garden was a marvel, a cosmic masterpiece. Flowers bloomed in colors we can only dream of. Rivers flowed with crystal clear water. Animals lived in harmony without fear. Adam and Eve walked among them, naming each creature. They were caretakers of this beautiful, nascent world. God, the architect of all this splendor, walked with them too. They had a direct connection, a special, unfiltered bond. Imagine conversing with the mind behind the cosmos. What a profound relationship that must have been for them. In this paradise, there was immense freedom. Adam and Eve could explore its every corner. They could learn. They could enjoy all the fruits of the bountiful garden. So many trees, so much to taste, so much to see. God granted them almost complete liberty in their domain. One tree, however, was set apart. One tree was different. It stood prominently, perhaps at the garden's very center. This was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A name full of mystery and immense potential, a central point in their otherwise flawless world. There was just one rule, a single, clear instruction. God told them, "You may eat from any tree in this garden, from any plant that bears fruit. You are free to partake. But from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you must not. Do not consume its particular fruit, for on the very day you eat of it, you will surely understand something profound and irreversible. You will understand mortality, an end to this timeless existence." This was the boundary, the one singular test of their obedience, a simple rule in a universe of overwhelming abundance. Now a new character slithers into our unfolding story. This character is the serpent, a creature native to the garden. But this particular serpent was distinct. It was remarkably clever. Some might describe its intellect as cunning, even subtly manipulative. It chose its moment, approaching Eve when she was perhaps contemplating. Maybe she was near the very tree that was forbidden. The serpent then began to speak, an unexpected development. This was unusual. A talking animal, engaging in dialogue. It planted a tiny seed of doubt, a carefully crafted question, a question whose ripples would eventually reshape their world. "Did God really say?" the serpent inquired, its voice smooth. "You must not eat from any tree at all in the garden." It was a clever twisting of God's clear words, a subtle misrepresentation. Eve, however, corrected the serpent. She knew the actual rule. "We may certainly eat fruit from the many trees in the garden," she stated, "but God specifically did say, 'You must not eat fruit from the tree that is situated in the middle of the garden, and you must not even touch it or you will die.'" She remembered the divine warning quite clearly. The stakes, as she understood them, were incredibly high. The serpent, however, was persistent. It boldly challenged God's truth. "You will not certainly die," the serpent hissed with confidence. "For God knows that in the very moment when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, like witnessing a new cosmic dawn. And you yourselves will be like God, knowing both good and evil." Imagine that powerful temptation. The allure of divine, unrestricted knowledge, to perceive the universe as its ultimate creator perceives it. Eve looked intently at the fruit. It appeared good for food. It was undeniably pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom. A powerful, multifaceted lure for a curious and intelligent mind. So Eve made a choice, a truly monumental decision. She reached out and took some of the forbidden fruit, and then she ate it, a simple physical act. Then she gave some of the fruit to Adam, who was with her, and he too ate it. He joined her in this act of disobedience. Together they broke the one specific rule, the single divine command. In that seemingly small moment, the entire trajectory changed. The very fabric of their existence began to subtly yet profoundly shift. An invisible boundary was crossed, a line unseen until that point. The complex taste of newfound knowledge was now upon their lips. Suddenly their personal universe expanded, but not in the way they expected. Their eyes were indeed opened. They saw their world differently. More acutely they saw themselves. They realized they were naked. A brand new feeling washed over them with surprising intensity, shame. This sensation was an intrinsic part of knowing both good and evil. They had never experienced this emotion before, in their state of innocence. So they quickly gathered broad fig leaves from nearby. They skillfully sewed them together to fashion rudimentary coverings, an immediate, instinctive attempt to hide their new sense of vulnerability. The effortless simplicity of Eden was visibly fracturing before them. Then they heard a sound that was once comforting and familiar, the unmistakable sound of God walking within the garden's cool paths. It was the cool of the day, a time they once cherished for communion, but now a chilling fear mingled with the familiar presence. Adam and Eve reflexively hid themselves among the dense trees. They attempted to avoid the very presence of their Creator. Imagine trying to hide from the source of all light and existence, God called out, his voice resonating. Adam, where are you? The question echoed through the once perfectly peaceful garden, a question seeking not a physical location but an honest confession. Adam eventually answered, his voice perhaps trembling with newfound anxiety. I heard your voice in the garden, he hesitantly explained, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. God knew. The subsequent question was direct and unavoidable. Who told you that you were naked? Was it your own deduction? Have you eaten from the specific tree that I commanded you not to eat from? The truth, inevitably, had to surface now. Adam, feeling the pressure, blamed Eve. Eve, in turn, blamed the serpent. A chain of responsibility deferred, a complex dance of deflection. The immense weight of their collective choice became undeniably heavy. The consequences of their actions were swift and profoundly far-reaching. For the serpent, a curse to crawl on its belly, forever humbled. For Eve, increased pain in childbirth and a changed, more complex dynamic with Adam. For Adam, a life of toil and struggle to get food from the resistant ground. And for both of them, the onset of mortality. The promise of death became starkly real. They were then banished from the idyllic Garden of Eden. No longer could they reside in that perfect, nurturing paradise, lest they reach out and also eat from the tree of life and live forever in this new, fallen state. The gate was closed, guarded by celestial beings. A new chapter for humanity began, a chapter that would unfold outside the protective walls of innocence. This ancient story, as old as our recorded thoughts, speaks of something fundamental. It speaks directly of free will, the inherent power to choose. Adam and Eve were not automatons. They were not pre-programmed entities. They possessed the clear capacity to obey or to consciously disobey. God presented them with a definitive choice, a fork in their path. A universe of potential possibilities rested entirely on that single decision. This freedom, this remarkable ability to choose our own unique path, is a defining and sometimes challenging characteristic of being human. It is simultaneously a magnificent gift and an incredibly heavy burden. Our lives are intricate tapestries, woven from the threads of our choices. Then there is the pervasive concept of temptation, a force that pulls us. The serpent in this narrative represents this subtle allure, the whisper of doubt, the enticing promise of something more, something currently forbidden or out of reach. Temptation often appeals directly to our deepest desires, the universal human desire for knowledge, for power, for pleasure, or for status. It rigorously tests our resolve, our unwavering commitment to what we know is right. Resisting temptation consistently requires inner strength and profound clarity of purpose. Understanding its seductive nature helps us navigate its powerful pull. It remains a constant, undeniable presence throughout the human experience, a recurring challenge faced anew by every single generation. And what of sin? In the context of this foundational story, it is disobedience. It is the conscious act of crossing a clearly defined boundary set by a higher authority, a deliberate turning away from the known good towards a perceived alternative. The act of eating the forbidden fruit was far more than just consuming food. It was a deeply symbolic, deliberate act of considered defiance. It fractured the perfect, seamless harmony that had previously existed. This complex concept of sin, of fundamentally missing the mark, has profoundly shaped moral, ethical, and legal codes for millennia. It speaks to our inherent imperfections and our continuous need for guidance, a humble recognition of the instances when we inevitably fall short. Finally, we observe the inescapable, universal reality of consequences. Every choice we make, every significant action we take has a corresponding reaction. For Adam and Eve, their pivotal choice led to profound and lasting changes: the loss of innocence, the introduction of hardship, separation from paradise, and eventual mortality. These were not merely arbitrary punishments, they were the natural flowing outcomes. The ripples of that one momentous decision spread outwards, affecting all subsequent humanity. This timeless story powerfully reminds us that our choices truly matter. They actively shape our world, our intricate relationships, and our collective future. The distant echoes of Eden still resonate clearly today, in every critical decision we face. A timeless, cosmic lesson about the interplay of freedom and ultimate responsibility.